Welcome to the CSS Sports Show. I'm Sean O'Brien, your host, joined by my co-hosts CJ Norfolk and Sean Hall. Just three bros talking sports. The first topic we're going to get to today is the last week, the Miami Heat, their 27-game win streak was snapped. What do you guys think led to that loss by the Chicago Bulls?
When you're on a streak like that in any sort of sport, your loss is going to happen. You could get cold one day, the other team could be hot. Combination of different things. It definitely, people are saying that Dwayne Wade coming back really hurt their chances of extending the streak.
He's coming off an injury.
I don't think that's the case because he's one of the best players in the NBA. With him on the court, your team is better.
Mm-hmm.
He fits the system that they perform every night that I'll get into later. With him on the court, they were a better team.
And what do you think, Sean? What do you think led to that loss?
I mean, I'm with CJ. It's just the fact that they're, I mean, you're a professional sports player now. You're playing with other professional athletes. These people are like the elite of the elite. They're just a group of guys that play very well together. But like CJ said, they can get cold, and they're not going to be hot every single night. And even though they were cold and they made a lot of turnovers and made a lot of mistakes, and Dwayne Wade was, quote, playing hurt and everything, they still only lost by 9. They were still in the game at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I don't think
they ended up losing by 4.
Right, 4. I don't even think the Heat are in no trouble to me.
Now, when you look at the two streaks, you got them and the Lakers from '72, who won 33 in a row. Who do you think had the better streak? We'll go to CJ first.
Honestly, I think it was the 71-72 Lakers.
No.
Just because I would take a dominant big man, Will Chamberlain, all day over
the logo too, Jerry West.
Over anyone. Yeah, and Jerry West, Elgin Baylor. I mean, that team was great. When you win 33 games straight, you are an elite team. They were winning games they were simply just dominating. They had 5 games over 141 points. Heat only had 1 game, and that was in a double overtime game. The 5 games they scored over 141 points were all in regulation. I mean, it was pure dominance.
And what about you?
First off, the streaks are so close. They're only 6 games apart. They're both outstanding streaks and everything. But I say the Heat have a way better streak because it's in 72 and 73, like you're saying with Will Chamberlain, the dominant big man and everything, the game has moved outside now. The game has moved up pace. The Lakers they weren't running gun like the Heat are. They were slow down, walk the ball up court, get the ball into Will Chamberlain, and let him go to work, and then let him decide how the game's played after that. Now the Heat, you got Ray Allen. You're running full speed down court. Just find him, let him shoot. LeBron inside, outside. Dwayne Wade inside, outside. Chris Bosh is 6'11". He's outside shooting, and the game has just moved to the arc. And then the other thing is, they won 27 games, and it's 2013. We're now 41 years after this streak was occurred. The game has gotten so much faster. Everybody's bigger and stronger. They're bigger, stronger, faster. The game has just evolved, and it's just like football. The game has just evolved, and it's so much more. And it's just to have that kind of pure dominance nowadays, I think is more outstanding than in 72, 73 when the Lakers' only competition then was really the Celtics.
But then when you look at it too, back in '72, you had the Lakers. The modern medicine wasn't there like it is today. They were having to travel on flights and coach, so the guys were uncomfortable. There was cigarette smoke on planes. They weren't eating the best foods and all that. So I think that contributes to how impressive it still was.
I mean, don't get me wrong. The streak is impressive. I just think with the players of the game now, you got the Derrick Roses, the LeBron James, the Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook. Like there was dominant players back when they were in the game then, but they were all on the Lakers or all on the Celtics. You have the Lakers' main competition was the Celtics.
Yeah.
They were in the final every year, back and forth, boom, boom, boom. They played every year. I mean, look who Miami's got to play. You got the Knicks, you got the Lakers, you got the Thunder, the Spurs, the Nuggets, the Clippers.
Yeah, really
you have so much competition nowadays. It's not just 1-2 dominant team.
Speaking of
besides like the Wizards, everybody is going to give you their best shot. I mean, during this streak they almost lost to the Cavaliers.
Yeah, it was close. And the Magic almost beat them at one point. But talking about the Lakers, what do you think this year's Lakers, CJ? Just barely holding on in there.
Yeah, I honestly think they're going to beat out the Utah Jazz for that final playoff spot. I just think Kobe Bryant can put the team on his back down the stretch. And
hopefully Dwight Howard gets on the same page with
hopefully they get on the same page and they get in there.
Well, since
You
I'm a
think they're
Heat
gonna
fan,
make the playoffs, Sean?
no,
No.
no. I'm so tired of Kobe. I can't stand Kobe Bryant the last 3 years. He was such a dominant player when he came out of high school and winning those 5 or 6 championships. He was such a dominant player, and now he just looks for an excuse for everything. He looks for an excuse for this. Oh, it's Dwight. No, now it's him. Oh, now he's yelling at people on the court. I just don't. I think he doesn't have any personal responsibility for himself. Like, he just wants everything. He doesn't have the Shaq anymore. And he doesn't have the Andrew Bynum anymore to bail him out of those situations. But yeah, he has Dwight Howard, who's they say the most dominant big man.
But they can't get on the same page.
He has back problems. He can't get on the same page. Is it Dwight's team? Is it Dwight's team? Is it Kobe's team? Just like the Heat was it LeBron's team or was it Dwayne's team? 20 games into the season.
Well, then Dwayne Wade
said it's
back.
your team.
Yeah.
LeBron or Kobe won't step back, and Dwight Howard won't step back. So they're just butting heads. And the other thing is, I would just love to see Kobe eat his words because he guaranteed a playoff spot. And I don't. If they don't make it, I would love to see him eat his words.
And I think that all three of us can agree. LeBron James MVP.
Yeah. Just to add another name, because I know you both will say LeBron James. If it was strictly went to the most valuable player, it would be John Wall of the Wizards, because without him, they were 5-28 to start the season. When he came back, they have a winning record.
Yeah, over 500.
Yeah. So if he played the whole season, who knows? They could be in the hunt for a playoff.
He could be in the French for MVP.
LeBron is clearly #1, but if you're gonna throw other names out there, I mean, you got to look at somebody like Carmelo, who was just such a dominant force on the Knicks.
Yeah.
Who can stop him?
True.
He had 30 points in the first half.
Obviously, you got Kevin Durant.
You got Kevin Durant.
He's going to win the scoring title again this year.
You got Westbrook, who I don't really like, but he's still a dominant player.
He can take over games.
Yeah.
You got Tony Parker.
Yeah.
Like, you got all the people. It's just the fact is
injuries.
The fact is all them people that I just named have injuries. Yeah. They've sat out of games. LeBron doesn't sit out.
He's durable. And now he's going to sit out tonight, actually, or whenever the next
game
is.
He's not sitting out for injury. He's sitting out. He's sitting out
just because they're trying to rest him.
Right.
Hello, I'm Suzanne Shipley, president of Shepherd University. Your journey to the unexpected starts now. At Shepherd, you can expect the attention of a private liberal arts college, the resources and programs of a comprehensive university, all at the cost of an affordable public education.
Shepherd, unexpected.
At Shepherd, expect more majors, more individual attention, more opportunities to explore cutting-edge subjects, more hands-on experiences, more outdoor recreation, more championship athletics, more fun, and more possibilities. There's no better way to experience life at Shepherd University than to visit. Is Shepherd what you expected?
But moving from the pro game to the college game, you guys been watching the tournament?
Yeah, unfortunately my bracket's completely busted like everyone else in the nation.
Yeah, and I mean I have Syracuse still in there, and I got Louisville, but my bracket's busted too.
My two roommates' bracket is in the 99.1 percentile.
Wow, that's impressive. They must have done some really good research or just gotten really lucky.
Cheated.
A little bit of both.
So why do you think there's so many upsets this year? You know, the #1 seed was passed around.
I honestly think it's the one and done rule is killing the college game. When back in the day, the big name programs, the Dukes, the Michigan States, the Michigans, they had guys staying 3 or 4 years who were dominant in the college game. Now, if someone has one good year, they're gone. If they have a legitimate chance going in the first round, they are leaving.
That's barring injury, like that one guy from Kentucky, but even they said he's still considered for the draft.
Right, and the mid-majors are getting better because the talent's leaving the big programs.
Yeah.
The mid-majors are keeping their guys for 3 or 4 years and getting chemistry, getting better.
And they're building rivalries between all the teams.
Right.
You don't get that anymore because teams are just recruiting and reloading.
I agree with CJ. The one and done rule should be gotten rid of. If you're going to go to college and be one and done, you're only taking 12 credits. You're only passing 12 credits, so you're not getting nowhere towards a degree.
Yeah.
You get nothing but bad academic standing for when you want to go back to school to get your degree.
Yeah.
So you're now in bad academic standing. If you're that good that you want to go to school for one semester and get 12 credits, not even care about the next semester and play, and then go sign a contract, let's just let them go from high school.
Yeah.
And because it's just like the number 1 through 5 seed, not seeded for the tournament, but throughout the regular season. There was no dominant number one. There was no dominant 1 through 5. Duke was number 1, what, 4 times? Then they lost.
Yeah.
And they were number 1, then they were number 2, then they were number 1, then they were number 5, then they were number 1, then they were number 3.
All over the place.
Yeah, there's just, and the other thing is you just don't have that one dominant player on any specific team. There's not like that one John Wall, or there's not that one Kevin Durant that's on it, or that when Carmelo played at Syracuse. Like, there's not that one guy that you're just like, whoa.
Yeah, there's
Like,
but we had the Elite Eight this weekend. Now, what we're going to do now is describe the matchups in one word. CJ, Louisville, and Duke, what's one word for that?
The first word comes to my mind is emotional. I mean, when Duke looked like they had the momentum and they were going to win that game, and then the injury happened to Kevin Ware, and it was an absolute disgusting injury, and you could see how
They went to the floor right
emotional
away.
Louisville got. You know, the players were crying, Rick Pitino crying. It really, you know,
motivated.
speaks to how close-knit that team was. And when
Patino stayed with him in the hospital.
right, and after halftime, I mean, they were probably all, you know, let's win it for Kevin. They came out completely dominated the second half.
And Syracuse Marquette, what one word for that game?
defense.
Defense.
It's just,
That 2-3 zone.
it's just a dominant. Syracuse is just dominant.
Their guards are big and they can cut those passing lanes off.
And somebody would think that by now they would understand that Syracuse is one of the only teams that doesn't play man-to-man all the time. Like, they have a 2-3 zone, and there's like 30 offenses to beat the 2-3 zone, but
Yeah, they're just got all
the
the
way that
sides.
they run the 2-3 zone, you just cannot beat it.
And then what about Ohio State and Wichita State?
One word, shocker. I mean, I don't think anyone saw that coming.
9 over a 2.
Ohio State was just finding ways to win, but Wichita State found a way to win.
Almost like GMU from a few years back.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing.
And Sean, what do you think about Michigan, Florida? What was that game?
Blowout. Even though Michigan was the lower seed, they just blew Florida out. They beat them they ended up beating them by 20, but easily could have been 30.
And the three-point shooting just coming up big. You got
Yeah.
about 3 or 4 3-point shooters you can just nail it all day.
It's just 3-point shooting. It's when you're hot, you're hot. When you're not, you're not.
And then this weekend we have the Final Four coming up on Saturday. You got Syracuse and Michigan, and then you have Wichita State and Louisville. Who are your picks?
In the Syracuse-Michigan game, I'm going to go with Michigan to beat the 2-3 zone, because to beat the 2-3 zone, you have to have one quick passing, efficient offense, and 3-point shooting, and that's exactly what Michigan is. They have 3 dominant guards, and I think they're going to take it.
And then Wichita, Ohio State, who you got? I mean, Wichita and Louisville.
Louisville, Syracuse, final.
I think it's going to be a Big East battle. Go out on top, We're going to finish off the show right now with a segment called One or the Other. I'm going to ask them a question, and they're going to pick one or the other. So, Sean, RG3, is he going to return week 1 from his injury, or is Mike Vick going to play the full season?
Well, I don't think either of these are actually going to happen. But more realistically, RG3 is going to play week 1. That's just we saw Adrian Peterson come back from an injury. Mike Vick has played 1 full season in 13 years. It's not happening. He's not happening.
And then, so CJ, Adrian Peterson, he claims he wants to get 2,500 rushing yards. Is he going to get that, or is Des Bryant going to get 2,000 receiving yards?
I think neither personally, but if I had to pick one, I'm going to go with AP just because I don't think Des Bryant is that dominant like a Calvin Johnson. And if you look at the Vikings offense, it's AP
Greg
all
Jennings.
day. I mean, they do have Greg Jennings, but can Ponder get him the ball?
True.
I mean, I think AP can get it.
And then for football, Manti Te'o, is he going to get picked in the first round, or are the Chiefs going to trade that first overall pick?
Manti Te'o gets picked in the first round. After his pro day back at Notre Dame, he really showed. He lowered his 40, he lowered all that. He fielded all the questions good. So I mean, his numbers all went up, and he actually trained. And the Chiefs, they're not going to trade their first overall pick with Andy Reid as coach. They got a new quarterback. They had what 6 or 9 Pro Bowlers last year, but you now have a coach, a good quarterback, 6 or 9 Pro Bowlers returning. It's dangerous. There might be a playoff team with that number 1 pick getting the best person in the draft. And
we're going to transition to the baseball world. Are the Chicago Cubs going to make the playoffs, or the Toronto Blue Jays going to finish first in the AL East?
That is a very tough question, because if you look at the AL East, it's a very tough division. But realistically, I don't see the Cubs making the playoff. I mean, their lineup has many holes in it.
Bad luck.
I think Jeff Shamar is going to be a great pitcher for them. I was hoping the Nationals trade for him, but it didn't happen. But Toronto Blue Jays their lineup is great. They have R.A. Dickey now. They had their ace from last year. He's now 5th in the rotation.
Wow.
They have a very deep pitching rotation. I think the Blue Jays can win the division.
And are the Orioles going to repeat their success from last year, or are the Red Sox going to repeat their failure? Or could be both.
Both. Orioles, I think, grow from last year. You know, Buck Showalter's a great coach. I think he gets them going again. I mean, they have a pretty good lineup and everything. I think they just need to work on their pitching a little bit. But I mean, I don't see the Yankees being that good this year. Finally, and the Red Sox. I mean, I think they just get worse. They're just terrible. They're just even though they did beat the Yankees in opening day.
Getting old.
They're just getting old. They're 162 games in a year. Not happening.
And then we got the Nationals are pegged to win the World Series, or at least get into the World Series. But are they going to win that first, or are the Wizards going to make the playoffs next year?
I do think the Wizards are going to make the playoffs next year, but the Washington Nationals will win the World Series this year. Their pitching rotation is the best in the MLB. Their
deep.
bullpen is the best. Their lineup, you could say, is mediocre, but with Bryce Harper in his natural spot, the 3 spot, they're going to be a great team.
And that's all we have for you guys today. For CJ Norfolk and Sean Hull, I'm Sean O'Brien. This was CSS Sports Show. Signing off.